tasks as part of the apps in the top pane. So Matt, I'll use those today and we'll use those sparingly moving forward. But today, the recording for January 22nd is going to be to have Jess and Maddie drive on some of the Compulse360 admin features. We really think this is a really good opportunity for everyone to understand some of the other structural things that can be put in place with every single partner that gets a Compulse360 instance. So Jess, Maddie, I will let you guys take it over from here, and I will take notes along with Maddie.
Yes, awesome. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks. And thanks, Maddie, for being my co-pilot. I couldn't ask for a better co-chair. Thank you.
Thrilled to be here.
Today, this week's edition of the Compulse training session, we will be digging into the media planner and analytics dashboard a bit more. It will complement Matt's training from last week. We'll take a look at the level of configurability we offer our partners by reviewing some of the features and tools accessed by both CS and admin level users. Admin level users being our partners that have leadership roles within the agency, as well as everyone here on this call. So my hope is that you learn something new, either to improve the partner's experience or to improve your own workflows day to day. And as Zach said, let's make this very interactive, ask questions, post in the chat. Maddie will be monitoring. So thank you. I will jump in. Okay, so when we think about configuring a partner, I think one of the most obvious things is the product suite. We are looking at Compulse's product suite. Let me go to the agency or the global view. Here is our standard view of products. So right now, if we were to onboard a new partner and create an instance, these are the products that would be imported into their portal. From there, we then tweak these products based on what the partner is selling, their pricing, a number of things. We do have a mapping doc that Jordan shares with new partners. I'll share that right here. And this will be updated soon. I know we're working to improve the master rate card and simplify things, but for now, this is what it looks like. All the products and then product options are listed here. And then we have our 3 tiers. Before we share this with the partner, we do just include their tier. Here's an example with just 1 tier. We can look at this doc here. This is tier 3, so our most expensive pricing. We include our suggested retail rate, and then we ask the partner or the client to go ahead and confirm the rate that they want to use. Working off of this, we go ahead and update their rates. You see everything is here. Hulu is something, going back to this template, you'll see Hulu right here. We don't offer this to every partner. So based on the MSA, we either include this or not. So that's something we think about as well, is what options or targeting options we can either add or remove for the client to simplify their campaign building. You know, if they're not going to be selling it for now, there's no point in having it within their platform. So coming back here, this can be a lot. For us, we see this every day, but we can come over
here.
Quick
question, Jess,
yes,
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So first, Zach called out something important that I want to make sure the recording captures, which it's very important to never tinker with the global rate card. And then Matt noted that the dropdown is going to default to agency, so you would have to manually switch into global, but just wanted to call that out. Very important to leave global alone. And then Anna's question was, should their rate on this sheet be inclusive of our rate, or it's the additional charge question mark?
Great question. So first thing is, you won't be able to access global, so don't worry about that. That I believe is just for super users, which is currently, I think, just CS. So you won't have access to Tinker, but still a great call out that if you find yourself in global, you never want to make changes here. I'm in global to show you the exact suite that we import, but I will not be tinkering with it. And then as far as that mapping doc, which is very much an informal doc that we've just sort of created to get by, these rates are wholesale. And if we're using gross, if we're using the partner's retail rates, they will put that here for us to use. These are our suggested retail rates, but we show them what they're being charged, and they can either elect to move forward with wholesale, or if they, you know, the way we explain it is that the rates that they're seeing in the platform will be client facing, because whether they're just submitting an instant IO or building a proposal, the output will be in front of the partner. So they'll want to use the rates that the partner will be, or their client will be viewing. So that's their call, and that's a question we ask them, whether they want the wholesale in, if they're going to just be charging a management fee, or they want to go ahead and use retail rates Does that answer your question, Anna?
Yeah, it does. So they would put gross. So for example, they would put, $15, and that would be subtracting the $3.40. They would be making $11.60 off the top or whatever.
Right. We don't
Is that right?
include,
Okay.
yes, we rely on them to do the math there, but that's correct. This is what they're being charged. Here's what we suggest for retail. They could go ahead and put their own retail or use ours, or they could indicate they want to use wholesale. But that is up to them. Good question.
Yeah, we have like 1 or 2 clients that are very transparent with their partners and actually keep the wholesale rates in there. And then when they invoice the client, they put the 15% management fee at the bottom of the invoice. So it's really, you're getting to the same kind of final cost one way or the other. It's, you just say like, here's your media, let's just say, here's your media cost of $10,000, and then here's your management fee of 15%. So your total invoice is 11,500. Or do you mark up all those rates 15%, and then you just get a bill that says, final monthly charge is $11,500. So it's partner preference at that point.
And something to keep in mind with that is that whatever we configure here for rates, whatever the number ends up being, it has nothing to do with billing on the back end and how the client is being billed. This is not, in front of Chen and the billing team.
Zach has his hand raised.
Yeah, just started to touch on it for a minute, and I wanted the recording to get it because it's a quick question that a lot of customers are going to have is how does billing know what to bill? It's kind of Jess is alluding to the MSA and the pricing that's on the MSA. Prior to this has also already been supplied to Chen Kao, and it's also been supplied to Brian Zucchelli. So when stuff gets pushed through the system, there's already a team that knows what to build. And we're always going to be putting the rates in the rate card in the HubSpot company page. So like Jess was saying, this is meant for partner control, partner transparency, partner visibility. Sorry, Jess. I just wanted to get that in the recording.
Yeah, that's a great addition. Thanks. Jordan does handle sharing that information over when the partner first enters onboarding. So any more questions about product rates and how we configure them? Okay, great. So moving on from the actual rates, we configure the products as well. Let's use CTV as an example. So looking here, we see there's a minimum spend, a recommended spend, minimum days. This is configured by clicking these 3 dots and hitting edit. And let's pause here real quick to speak about the different roles available to users in Media Planner and C360. We have our admin level role and our sales rep role. The big difference is that admins, which is myself, everyone on this call, and sales reps, is that admins can actually do the configuration and sales reps cannot. So actually I can switch over real quick. Right now, we were looking at a split screen. We're looking at FanDuel. On the left, I have an admin level user screen, and on the right, I have a sales rep level user screen. If I click into products for each and scroll over, crunch screen, and just with the top 3 here, for sales rep, I cannot hit edit, hide, manage slides, but with admin, all of those are available as well as delete product. We'll come back to this screen in a bit. So here we are, and we hit edit, and we can update the product name. This is where you can add that minimum spend, that recommended spend, that minimum duration. Now there is a column for these fields within the mapping doc. Most partners don't fill those out right off the bat, especially as they're learning to navigate digital and the platform, but ultimately lots do end up using these fields. I know that we have some minimum spends in place. We do hold true to them for YouTube, Google, and social. But otherwise, we don't have these listed on the platform. So that essentially means you can book a campaign for whatever amount for whatever duration. You can select monthly here so that these rate numbers would apply to a monthly campaign versus overall, or looking at it monthly rather. And this tool tip text here is customizable. This is default text that pulls in. Again, this is our global suite, but you can change these. Ferocious has great text that they pull in. Anything specific you would want to include for your team. Product options, these are all the different CTV options. So these are where we update those rates. So the rates that are pulling in are wholesale right now. They are tier 3, so the highest rates that we offer. the ad types, so the length of the video, these are not something that we can edit on the front end. We have to reach out to Eric. The product team has to update these for safekeeping. We do have the ability now to add a banner to products. That's something that's a newer ability. This is the CS super user level access, but the way that we've been using this so far, you've seen when you look at geofencing, there is a line item that says we don't offer, demo targeting with these campaigns. That's how we're using that banner at the product level. You see this is at the product tactic level. We have a banner with an email that calls out that you need to fill out a counts form before you can move forward with an email campaign. So just know that this is available. As things come up that we want to share about specific products or tactics, we have that ability to configure that now. So you can change the name of the tactic. It will still correlate for the placements team because there's a placements ID, and the same goes with the product name. However, it can be confusing for us, for you as account managers or a RevOps team members. So it is nice to keep the name similar or something recognizable, but it is something we can edit. And then the last thing I want to talk about within the product is the rate parameters. So these default to 20% for like 90% of the products. There's a few where it's like 30 and 70. I don't know if that's intentional, but the way that these work is this is where admin level users at an agency or at our partners business can come in and adjust just how much their sales reps can increase or decrease a rate. Something common we're seeing is where the adjust down is made 0, meaning you cannot drop the rate at all, and adjust up, I guess, could go as high as 100%, so that they could increase the rate. So that's something we like to offer. If the floor is what the floor is, and they want the rate to be 26, whatever it might be, then we'll just make this 0 so they can't adjust it. I'll make these 20 again. Any questions about rate parameters and how we use them? I'll add that these business rules, when set, can be overridden by an admin. So this rule does not affect myself or anyone on this call. You could come in and place an order and change the rate. But the business rules that all admins and all users are subject to would be the ones found here. The minimum spend, you would not be able to place an order. So if when building a campaign in a proposal, if there is a $1,000 minimum spend for CTV and you've got $500, that product won't even pull into the proposal. So if ever a partner's like, I can't find this product, there's likely a spend in place, a minimum, and they're not meeting it. So that's how that works, and everyone is subject to that. All right, let us close here. All right, I quickly want to look at clients. I'm going to go back to the screen I have set up. So a difference in permissions between admins and sales reps. Clients. So looking over here, I lost my labeling, but this is the admin view. Oh, search is going to work. The admin view, and this is the sales rep view. When you click clients, admins can see all the clients within the instance, and that is for all regions, I do believe as well. So looking at FanDuel, I'll talk about sub-agencies or markets, stations, AKA admin hierarchy and inheritance in a minute. But we see that FanDuel, Danny has access to 2 different instances, but I believe that he sees for all clients for the entire agency. But looking over here at the sales rep, they only see their clients, and it's nice. There's this My Clients tab. So they just see the clients they have access to. Loading, see. Now, if you click on all clients, now they can see all clients, but they can't select them, which is not helpful. So that's why we have this My Clients tab, which is really nice. Let's get back to our main screen here and talk about admin hierarchy. FanDuel. Okay. I'm quickly going back into, so I'm in FanDuel's instance now, and we're going to Media Planner. So about this time last year, we launched the ability, product launched the ability to inherit traits or updates made to the main parent company and trickle them down to the different child accounts. So when I click on my initials, here I am in FanDuel as an admin, and I click on these arrows, I'm able to see all of the different stations within FanDuel. These are called stations or markets. They're also sub-agencies. These agencies are listed up here, but they're the same idea, right? These are broken out. They ladder up to the main agency, and you can be given access to all of these or some of these. Mandy, who is our main contact at FanDuel, she has access to all of these. Her regional sales leads just have access to the regions they run. Sales reps just have access to the regions they're in. Coordinators, they span multiple regions as well. But if I go ahead and make it, let's go to the products real quick. If Mandy were to reach out and say, hey, listen, turn on performance TV for all my regions, I would come in here and I would unhide. And I would hit edit. And I would click here and I would say copy product to sub entities. And this screen would come up for me and I would click this and then all stations would receive that product. Certainly I'm going to hit cancel, but that's the same if I were to come in here and maybe update the name, right? She just wanted to say dynamic CTV. I'd come here and then save to sub entities. I could click all sub entities or just some of them, of course. So that is the way that product inheritance works. It works with slides as well. So coming into CTV here, manage slides. If I were to delete this slide or hide, we'll hide it. I could save this to all stations again. So that's really great. It's been really helpful. When me and Maddie joined Q1, Q2 of last year, this was not in place. Then you can imagine making any update for Ferocious took a very long time. So this was a great add-on and we're glad that we have it and we have that option to quickly make updates across all child accounts. I'm gonna close out of here. Any questions about admin hierarchy, or I guess not admin hierarchy rather, but inheritance and how that works and affects child accounts?
Nothing in the chat.
Thank you, Maddie. Okay, let's go look at over here, our agency dashboard. Let's go look at it for Compulse though. And let's get out of global. Okay, so agency dashboard is available to super users. It's not something that you would see as an admin user. So yes, it's happy to come in and configure for you at any time. This is what this looks like on our end. So a few things that we do in here. Starting at the top, admin approval. This defaults to being on. We often turn it off for partners. This applies to the proposal builder. So when a sales rep gets to the end of their proposal and it's time to submit the campaign, they can't submit it. They have to submit, well, they can, but it's submitting it for admin approval versus over to the campaigns team to be built. And what that does is it locks it, the proposal, and indicates that an admin needs to approve. And so anyone with admin access within that agency would come in and mark it as approved after reviewing it. Currently, whenever a proposal is submitted for approval, there is no ping, no notification goes out to admins affiliated with that instance, but that is something on the roadmap for this year. So for now, essentially, the sales rep could just let their manager know, or managers can come in once a day and review their proposals. That's been working so far. If admins aren't concerned about sales reps submitting without first checking in with them, we can turn this off. It's really just on preference. Coming down here, pixel request toggle conversion tracking. So we've been talking about these. Jesse brought this up last week, shared some good feedback. Been meeting with Haley and Matt, and we're going to be chatting with product further about these. Conversion tracking is not in its best version quite yet. So moving forward, we're not going to be turning this on. I'll actually turn this off for our partners until we can get this in better shape. If a partner does request for it to be turned on, we can. It's just not the best experience right now. But pixel request toggle, we're going to start turning this on for all partners as they onboard. Let's quickly go and look and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm in an instant IO. It was already created, I think, by Paolo. It's just a test. Or I don't know who made this actually. But coming down here, when you turn on the pixel request, this toggle is what turns on. It defaults to off. And go live without retargeting, this is always on. It defaults to on. There's a little tooltip here. But the pixel request, when added, and it will be, defaults to off. If a partner hits this and submits the order, all this is doing is including a note in the actual IO that's shared, the CSV doc, that a pixel request has been made. It just says pixel request yes. And if it's off, it says pixel request no. So it doesn't actually trigger an action by the CM team. It's just a note. And so then you would follow up with the pixel. And then this conversion tracking, which we'll be turning off. They default to off. Here's what it looks like when it's on. And I don't want to spend too much time here because we'll be updating this, but it's where you could include URLs for, this is for tracking conversions, this is for tracking website visits. We know there's lots of other goals or KPIs that can be tracked. So this isn't the most useful. So that's why we're not focusing on that right now, but more to come on that as we improve the experience. Let's go back to our agency dashboard. Okay, limit segments, no limit, yes limit. So previously no limit is what we move forward with, but now we have a limit turned on and we use 5. That's just the best practice. If ever we needed to update this, we could increase or decrease. Sinclair only allows for 2. So this is something that's customizable. 5 is just the best practice. And down here.
I'm sorry, Jess.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask on that note, what's kind of the talk track on the onboarding side for that? Is it, best practice is 5? If you need to push, outside of that, is that something that, leads into, we could see delivery issues, etc.?
Yeah, here's the talk track I've been using, and I welcome anyone on AM or Matt or Zach or anyone to follow me up. But I say that, any more than 5, unless you have a very specific audience, becomes a little redundant. We've seen people come in here, and if they're targeting Pizza Hut, they pick every segment that includes pizza, and that's like over 100. So, and they feel almost like there's a need to do that, right? To make sure they're hitting every possible audience. But really, if you're going for pizza lovers, you're going for pizza lovers, and that's all you need. So, too much of the same idea becomes redundant. And yes, you could limit your audience. And as we know, we don't currently show, and when you pick segments within the workflow of the proposal or the IO, instant IO, it doesn't actually affect the numbers in the workflow. We're not able to do that. So they're not seeing just how much it might affect their campaign. So that's sort of why we've limited. I know that Nurse has 10 because they really do go for specific audiences, but we have found that it isn't needed to have more than 5. Go ahead, whoever's waiting to speak.
I mean, my comment is similar to what Jess said, is you can really limit the scale of your audience, because I want you guys to think of all segments as a Venn diagram when you're going to overlap 5 circles. So you start with 2 circles, you have a large space, but then you overlap 5 circles in that Venn diagram, and that space in the middle becomes very smaller. So the more audiences you add together, sometimes operations will map those as and statements, which is a lot of what these clients want. You're really limiting that size of that audience. And usually when you're limiting that size of that audience, you do have to bid more aggressively, which drives our costs up too. So we do really want to limit that for those 2 reasons from an audience segment standpoint. One question I have, and Matt, you might know this, it's probably along the same thread as Jesse. Are we bringing in segments into the tool that don't have any audience size? And what I mean by that is, in Xandr, sometimes there are audiences that have 0 users, and they used to previously show up in the tool. Has Eric been able to amend that situation?
We should have an automatic sync that as segments are being decommissioned in Xandr, they are automatically removed from our platform. We did have a bit of an issue where a SEM casting segment pulled into a other agency's view, so we may have disabled that. Maddie, can you maybe just make a note to check with Eric if that's been re-implemented or not? Previously, as of this time last year, we did not have that automated sync. So you definitely had segments that had been decommissioned showing up in the platform. As long as that's been turned back on, that should be updating pretty regularly, maybe even daily.
Okay.
And then there's no update on what our solution is long term for audience segments that are in different DSPs, right? So these are just coming from Xandr. I know currently the workaround is to apply the closest match. Let's say it's a beeswax segment. Is there any sort of, does anybody know, Matt, you may be the closest to it. Is there any sort of thoughts on closing that gap?
I haven't heard anything about pulling in those other segments. I know that the CM team is just being asked to find the most closely related based off a name. But to my knowledge, there hasn't been any. How often are we using segments from those other platforms, knowing that, a beeswax, for example, we're primarily using that for geofencing, where we wouldn't apply an audience segment anyway?
I'm pretty sure they're still running display and those tactics on I don't think they've
Yeah.
transferred over all of the display.
Okay.
We get
Um,
geo audience campaigns as well that has an element of audience targeting.
Okay. Yeah, to my knowledge, they have not pulled in beeswax segments. It's just on the CM team to find the closest match.
yeah. I will ask too on this note, actually. Well, actually, Matt, you're on those calls now too. Today, we can talk to Jeff about the plans on where they're building campaigns, especially as it relates to display and pre-roll, because we still have quite a few clients that are still going to beeswax for those tactics.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
And Jess, it's 127, and I think you guys for the
Okay.
halfway mark.
Yes. Thank you, Matt. Okay. Yep. We'll move right along. I should just need maybe just 10, 15 more minutes. Okay, great. So here we are in our agency configuration dashboard, layout. So Maddie will be presenting later on in the year regarding slides, and the level of detail and customization we can do there. But for the layout here, our default layout, our new layout that we're familiar with, Maddie spent a lot of time getting this into the platform. Each time we onboard a new partner, we do configure that with the branding, the colors. Of course, we can further configure the layout to include different dynamic elements or agency-specific slides. But at the least, we can customize their colors and bring in their logos. I'll show you where we bring in the agency logo in just a minute. Quickly, want to talk about packages. Packages, the ability to build them, that's something newer. I know we're talking about it across some partners, Nurse, for example, that needs to be turned on. If it's not turned on, there's no ability to build them. Again, I know we haven't spent a lot of time there, neither has CS, but packages are the ability to take multiple products, put them together, build a package so that the agency partners can sell that package and not have to worry about compiling a suggested media plan for the partner. So that's something we should look into definitely this year, using more and taking advantage of that tool. Okay. I said let's talk about adding the logo for the agency. So looking at Compulse360, this is the portal, right? This is our logo, great, but that logo does not automatically pull into the proposal. The place that is located is clicking on my initials, Manage Agency, which everyone has access to with that is an admin. So this is the logo we have dropped in. It's the ad portal logo. That's fine. But it's important to add a high-res logo here because this is what will pull into the proposal tool later on when you actually build a proposal. And default layout is here as well. Here it is selected, Compulse generic. Okay, I'm going to stop there within Media Planner and move over to admin hierarchy. Any questions before we make that transition? Okay, great. So a couple of things in admin hierarchy. Let's actually, do I have FanDuel? Let's look at FanDuel. Oh no, that's not right. It's not, oh, FanDuel. Okay, let's look at FanDuel's admin hierarchy. So the biggest thing here is that everyone on this call now has multi-level admin access. You have access to all partners within C360 or admin hierarchy, which is great because before you had to have tenants added to your account. So let's look up Jesse. What's it called? Multi-agency admin, Compulse. Before, Jesse would have on here all of his partners, right? He would have Cage Free, he would have Urban, but now this takes care of everything, which is nice. Very clean. Multi-agency admin, don't have to put any advertisers in. So with that in mind, if you do have other tenants and you're in your account, you're welcome to delete them. It won't hurt anything. But whenever you do navigate to admin hierarchy, you're now going to see everything, where before you would just see relevant information, right, to the partners in your pipeline. So what you can do, so here we are users. Yes, this is FanDuel's portal, but this is all users because that's who I have access to. We have some filters and they used to be right here, but now they're over here. So when you click this, this is where our filters come in. This is how you can single out your partners. Oops. Cage Free, great. So now I'm only seeing users over here in Cage Free. Now there's a few options here that you won't have access to as an admin, but you have users and you have agencies and you have advertisers. So again, advertisers here, if I limit this to cage free, now I'm only seeing advertisers affiliated with cage free. Or yes, so that's how that works. You want to take advantage of those filters. Something that CS does, and something that I believe, most of us do, is we add new users for our partners. So we create the user here. Oh, I mean advertisers. We create the user, and by the way, best practice is to always search by email first, because otherwise you get to this step, you put the information in, and they're like, oh, this user already exists. And just as an example, I'll just click on a user here. We come in and we add their tenant, right? This one is for Sinclair. Sinclair gets the demo access automatically as well. But for anyone with, I'll actually go back to FanDuel. FanDuel has multiple regions that they use, right? Multiple markets. So let me think about Mandy. She should come up. Okay, here she is. So for FanDuel, Mandy has access to all regions, but for those admin level users that manage certain regions, we have to go ahead and give them access to just their markets. So let's say Mandy was only overseeing West as well as Ohio. We'd give her access to West, we'd hit save, then we'd have to actually associate another tenant for Ohio. So they do need a different tenant for each region they have access to. So that's how we configure that. We also will tie different clients to sales reps. And I think that's something you guys do as well. Sales reps only have access to their clients. We'll come in here for users and tie them to their advertisers. A reminder that whenever a user, regardless of the permissions, creates a client in C360, creates an advertiser, they'll automatically have access to it. So it won't stop them from building a campaign. Okay, that is it for admin hierarchy. Our last section to cover is analytics. Any questions about admin hierarchy? Okay, awesome. Okay, analytics dashboard. We're going to look at configuring or connecting a API for Google or email or Facebook Meta. So I've got nurses pulled up here. Let me back out. So whenever a partner is either using us to fulfill social or search or email, or if they just want to pull in their reporting, fulfilling it in-house, we need to pull that reporting in, of course. And the way that we make that connection is by going to the actual advertiser. So edit advertiser and syncing the account. So here we are in nurse.com. This is their AT&T campaign. This is loading. We can see the Google Ad Manager clicking through here. This is not enabled. What do they have enabled? They have site impact enabled. We see the green check mark here. I click in. But this should already be connected, right? Because it's previously been connected and it shows here all the stats. But you would search for the name of the campaign to connect it. And that is something that you might need to clarify with the client, depending on what they named it, especially if they're just using us for reporting, so that you can pull it in. Once you sync the third-party account, Site Impact or Google, it takes 24 hours. It takes overnight for the data to pull in. Then you can actually sync the campaign, which is another 24 hours. So you're looking at 48 hours minimum to get that information within the platform. Regarding syncing our accounts, our Compulse Facebook account, that's something that I know that they came up on the last call. That's something that currently Matt has been owning for our team, but I know we're looking at getting more access to CS or maybe RevOps, maybe
everyone, jumping in real quick, everyone should now have access to assign the various accounts at the agency level, and then everyone should also then be able to do this.
So for the agency level, remind me where I do that, Matt.
Yep. So click that, go manage agencies. A little bit further down. You'll search for whatever agency. So let's just pick a new one because it may be blank. Now it's worth stating, there you go, good one. It's worth stating that you need to have access from the search and social team. So like Nate would have to give you access to both of these, Google and Facebook. So you can't do that ahead of time. So Google, it can probably be synced to your SPG TV or your Compulse email. That's how mine was done. Facebook, I believe, can only be done to like, they have to give you access to your personal account. So you'd be logging to like your personal Facebook here. It would have access to Meta, you know, what's it called, Meta's business ads or whatever they actually call it. I can't, it's escaping me, but so you'd have to reach out to them too. So that's the part where there's a bit of a gap right now. So you'd want to go and get that access to Nate, and we can maybe take that offline too and work with Nate to just give everyone access. But this is also part of the onboarding experience too. So not necessarily something you guys need to worry about. Our team has kind of been doing that upon creating agency. Obviously, we didn't do it in this case, but our team's trying to own that. I was the only one that had access before, so I'll take the blame on that one. Oh, there we go. Anna just put a helpful note in the chat too. So, but once those accounts are synced, anyone has the ability to go in to the advertiser's campaign page or at the advertiser's dashboard page and linking campaigns. The last thing worth noting here is sometimes clients have their own accounts. Unless they're willing to share their username and password, we would need to set up time to kind of meet with them, and they can do this on their own, but it's obviously a lot easier if we kind of walk them through it. So that's been something that we've been trying to do as well.
Thanks, Matt. Great update. And if we are syncing their account and we are walking them through it, there's a couple extra steps in there, some logistical issues, not issues, but challenges we have to overcome. So it is important to loop CS in because we'll make sure we cover those steps. And did someone have, I saw a hand up maybe?
Yeah, Zach.
Oh, I just asked Matt. I could put up a syncing walkthrough or tutorial on the training schedule, or I can record one. But Anna was down the right track. Your Google syncs should be done through the Compulse AM Gmail. So you log into Compulse360 through that email, do the syncs, and then Matt is right. Facebook and Site Impact can be through your email. So it's easier to understand it if it's done through a recording. So I might actually put a recording together for it.
Okay, and then reminder, I actually have a piece of collateral I've shared, Zach, that can go along with it whenever you do that. Instructional how-to. Cool.
Really quick,
All
would
right.
it be out of the question to have a universal Facebook sync, like Gmail sync, or not Gmail, but like the email login and password that's someone, or maybe a company page that doesn't get taken off?
Lately, Velasquez has been providing them to people's personal email accounts and then associating them to the account IDs. I haven't seen him do it to some sort of consolidated email like the Compulse AM email. So
I don't think you can. I think there's we've had issues with that in the past. You have to have an account and have history before, otherwise you can, but then they'll like think it's fraud and revoke the access. So I think that's the reason why we've gone that route.
Okay.
All the Gen Zers on the call are like, wait, I don't have a Facebook. All right, last couple things, and then I'm going to pass it to Matt. Here we are, we're in nurse.com. We're looking at their programmatic campaigns here. What do we display? So I want to touch on reporting. A couple of things I want to note. So clicking my initials, there are two options for sharing a link to the campaign. You've got share with editable date range, which is great because then you don't have to reshare the link, and the client, our partners' clients can continue to update and view data as time goes on. Or you can share without an editable date range. So they just see that moment in time analytics for their campaign. Something you can also do is limit the information shared on the campaign. So you have the ability to remove different KPIs being shown if you don't want to show conversions, whatever it might be. Looking through here, if you didn't want to show this whole tile, you can remove performance by geo, or you can remove specifically like impressions, whatever it might be, that's editable. But I also wanted to share that outside of these links, you can also schedule reporting. The links are great, they're fast, they're easy. Outside of scheduled reporting though, you can also, I know what I wanted to add, you can give the client access to their advertiser. So best practice, I think, is if you have a client and maybe they're just running one campaign, give them a link that's nice and easy. But if they're running multiple campaigns, they're going to be on the platform more. It's nice to set them up with client access, and CS can show you how to do that or do that for you. And so clients only have access to analytics. So when they sign on, they don't see that full suite of products or widgets rather, or apps available. They just see analytics. You don't have to worry about them, running into Media Planner and seeing anything you don't want them to. It's a white label experience. They'll see their partners' logos, but then they can access as needed. But sometimes you want to restrict that. That's when you could just share the link. But outside that, let us look at scheduled reporting. Manage reports right here. This is something that was pretty buggy this time last year, but Arnell and team really spent some time updating. So you would hit schedule new. And by the way, this has to be done at the advertiser level. Any updates are done at the advertiser level. So you can't come into nurse.com and view all reports, right? You'd have to go to FirstNet, AT&T to see those specific reports. So when setting up a report, here's the client. You can select different products they have available. You can do all, or you can just do some. You can do all campaigns, select individual campaigns, select from the campaigns. You can do all time. You can do the last week, month, quarter, date, and then intervals of data. You can do current month, so different options here. Give the reporter name, the more specific, the better. If you're going to be running a lot of these, that's what we like to tell partners. Report frequency is here as well. Time of day, file type, PDF, Excel, business review. And then you can select your email, add additional emails, and then opt to only send this report one time. Because this has been buggy in the past, it is working now. We always suggest that you send a test campaign to yourself before you send it to a partner. So if I'm Christina and I'm working with Tony, I would send it, if I'm suggesting this to Tony, I would first send it to myself, make sure it looks good, and then advise Tony on it. If Tony is sending a report to AT&T directly, you would advise Tony, hey, build this report, send it to yourself, make sure it looks good before you go ahead and schedule it for AT&T. Questions about scheduling reporting, sharing the reporting links or the data links, or giving clients access to analytics?
I think you're good.
Okay, that's it. I'll stop sharing.